Hello and welcome to Dawg Daze, everyone. And this is the show where we talk about all things cannabis. We have a very special guest today. We have Mr. Danny Desjarlais from Minnesota, and he is the project manager for the Industrial Hemp Construction Project for the Lower Sioux Indian Community. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
You guys are pretty busy out there this time of year, right?
Yeah, extremely busy. We have a really short building season, and then we also farm here as well. So yeah, it's a very busy time of year.
That's amazing. So I have your website here that we can kind of bring up and kind of refer to. But you are Lower Sioux? You're a tribal member?
Yeah, born and raised here at the Lower Sioux. It's a small reservation in the southwest corner of Minnesota.
And so you guys actually grow the industrial hemp that you work with and build with?
Yeah, so we actually started growing hemp back in 2016 through a special program with the University of Minnesota. And so doing some trial growing, and then eventually got some decorticating equipment, and then hired a crew to teach how to build. And then we started building just a small demonstration shed to begin with. That was all material that we had grown and processed. And then that's kind of what opened the doors for doing residential construction. And so then we started building actual homes here on the reservation because we can create our own building codes on the reservation, so we didn't have to go through all of the extra red tape that most people were and still are having to go through. So that's what we did. We started building homes. We did a duplex that is temporary emergency housing. We did that with the hempcrete spray system, with the Easy system. Then we started doing single family homes, and we even did a complete renovation of an existing structure where we gutted it all the way down to the studs and then sprayed it all back with hempcrete. So kind of a little bit of everything. We've done the prefabricated panels and blocks as well. So just kind of figuring out what works best for us. And then we actually started, we helped out on a project last year that would have been the first house off of the reservation in Minnesota.
Whoa, really cool.
Yeah, and it was for two doctors at the Mayo Clinic. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mayo Clinic, but it's a, very prestigious hospital in Rochester, Minnesota. And so it was for two doctors that worked there, husband and wife. And I asked them why they chose hempcrete, and they said they were scrolling through YouTube and stumbled upon it, and like doctors do, started to do their research and could not find a better material to build their forever home out of. And so that's why they chose hempcrete. So I think that speaks volumes to the material. We've kind of done most of our work here on the reservation, but we are starting to go off of the reservation now as well. And the building codes are also, being adopted in. So here in Minnesota, we went and testified in front of the Department of Labor and Industry to get hempcrete or hemp lime, you can call it either one, but to get the appendix adopted into the state building code, which they voted yes to do. And so we're on pace to being the first state in the country to have hempcrete adopted into the state building code. So
amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So, and it was there was like 30 some people on the team that made that all possible, but it opens the doors for the rest of the states now too. And it doesn't have to be, wealthy people or doctors or anything building these homes now. Just regular people can.
Can it be a disabled combat veteran?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. So we would love to build you something. Everybody should have one of these homes. Like the more and more I came into this a conventional builder, and the more I fall down the hempcrete rabbit hole, it's just there's no going back in my eyes. And I think all of construction should be leaning more towards natural materials.
So you're in Minnesota. It gets pretty cold there. So does it keep it nice and toasty? And does it keep it nice and cool in the summertime? Because, sometimes I know on the plains and stuff, it can get really hot too in the summertime. So does it keep you cold when you're supposed to and warm when you're supposed to?
Yeah, it does. And it gets very cold here. It can get down to, 40, 50 below with the wind chill factor. But it doesn't only just get cold, it gets very hot and humid too. And so at the University of Minnesota, we have the Center for Sustainable Building Research. And according to them, where we are, we actually get the largest swings from hot to cold because of how cold it gets and from to how hot and humid it gets in the summer. And so it's a really good testing ground for this material, and so us having the first homes here, we've actually been able to start doing some of that testing. And so Penn State had sent out a team almost 2 years ago now and installed some equipment, and then they had the equipment in there for over a year. Now we mailed the equipment back to them, and they're getting all the data and everything from that. So it's pretty cool to be able to be like on the front lines of the testing of this. But we've always been told, even people that have these homes in Canada and other cold climates, that you don't need a big furnace in the winter, that, just a small furnace. And I didn't ever truly believe that because we are in Minnesota and it is so cold.
Yeah.
But on one of our projects, we didn't have a furnace installed yet. And we added this solar furnace to the exterior, which would just serve as a secondary heat source. And it got to 20 below that night. I came back the next morning and checked how cold it got inside. And this is without any furnace, no electronics, no occupants, no appliances, nothing giving off heat in that building. And the hempcrete held the solar heat just from when the sun was up all day. And it only had dropped to 59 degrees in the house overnight, and it was 20 below outside, and that was probably one of the longest nights. The sun went down at 6, and so there was no more heat after 6 or 6:30 or whatever time the sun went down. And I came and checked it at 7:30 the next morning before the sun had came up, and it was, had only dropped to 59. So if there was people living in there giving off heat and electronics and everything, you probably wouldn't have even needed a furnace on one of the coldest nights of the winter. So that was like kind of like real world testing, or like, it was like our first ever, we weren't trying to test it, but it was like the first time we were ever proven that it can work. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. And even the heat too. So I've been in some hempcrete homes when in the middle of July where it's, hot, really hot outside, and you go inside and it's just such a difference in air temperature. It's really, really impressive. So,
and the humidity too, does it kind of suck up the humidity so you don't feel like, it's so frustrating when you go and you take a shower and then you walk outside and it feels like you need to take another shower because it's so humid.
Yeah, that's the great thing about it, is it does self-regulate humidity, and so it doesn't just suck humidity.
Amazing.
It actually disperses it through the entire fabric of the wall and takes it on when it needs to and disperses it when it needs to. And so it always self-regulates to a certain percentage. I've been told like 60%. I don't know if that's really true. I'm sure it fluctuates in different climates, but yeah. And so it self-regulates humidity and temperature. So it's actually...
it's almost like a living, breathing.
Yeah, that's actually
building.
What I was going to say was and I always get corrected because I say breathing too much. And then we get in the room with like smart, there's always like engineers and architects that come and they're like, well, the walls technically don't breathe. It's vapor permeable, and so it's like.
We're natives, it's breathing.
Yeah, it's breathing, right? It's living, it's breathing,
It's
it's part
talking to us.
of nature, like our homes are supposed to be, man. And so these homes will go back into nature. That's the thing. The great thing is they're 100% recyclable. All of the hempcrete material could either just get ground up and put into your next mix, or it's not going to end up in the landfill if you don't put it into your next mix. It's basically turns into a soil amendment and could enrich the soil instead of killing it like all these plastics and toxics that don't break down, and then when they do, they just leach toxic stuff back into the soil. So it's there's so many things that you could hang your hat on or say this is why we're choosing hempcrete. But yeah, the main reason we are is because we are a small reservation, and most of the homes that get built here, it's they're poorly constructed. It's they're labeled affordable housing or whatever you want to call it, but
Mm-hmm.
of them aren't affordable to operate. They cost a lot to heat and cool.
Yes.
And then just the toxic nature of these homes, they're not healthy. And so putting our community members into new homes, we want to try to make sure that they're healthier homes, and it's really up to us to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the longevity of these homes. These hempcrete walls and structures are supposed to last hundreds of years, whereas the materials we use right now to build our homes only last 30 years or 50 years at the most. And that's like most people's mortgages is like a 30-year mortgage. And so they just get their house paid off, and they either have to completely renovate it, or a lot of them, if they don't take really good care of it, they end up in the landfill. A lot of the pre-manufactured homes that come onto the reservation, just get torn out and end up in the landfill. Nobody wants to put any money into try and saving them, because a lot of them you really can't save. And so it's our choice. What kind of homes are we going to build and leave for the future generations? And so that's where we hang our hat. We don't really get hung up on like the carbon sequestration and stuff like that. We're more, we want healthier homes that last a long time, that we can hand down to our kids and our grandkids, and they can, so it's.
What a beautiful message. I love that.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to me from being here on the Wind River Indian Reservation, because we do have housing issues and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of prefab houses that you constant upkeep. I mean, they're always kind of rickety and getting leaks and all that kind of stuff. So excellent points and a wonderful message, a beautiful message. So your leadership really had to buy into this, and I'm just talking from a native standpoint. Whatever happens on the reservation, I mean, you can beat your drum. I've beat the drum here on the Wind River Indian Reservation about hempcrete, that sort of thing, hemp houses. But nothing's going to happen until the leadership has buy-in. So that had to happen first and foremost, right?
Yeah, that's 1000% correct and accurate. And I see it, since the Patagonia film came out, we've had so many tribes reach out to us, and a lot of them have came and taken tours. Sometimes it's even been, tribal council members or their housing authorities or whoever it is. They're really interested in it. And they take back all the, I've been an open book, and I try and share with everybody, and they take it back. And a lot of times there's no follow-up, because it does make it to the leadership, and then the leadership just doesn't want to buy into it. They don't want to take any, extra risk or extra chance or put any funding into it. And I see why, because most tribes, they already have a million things on their plate that they're working. Tribal councils are in charge of so many different things. And so I don't blame them for that. And so I think it really does have to start at the leadership, and that's where it started for us. At the Lower Sioux, it was a guy on our tribal council by the name of Earl Pendleton, and he was, preaching the hemp gospel for years, and everybody thought he was crazy. It was before it was even legal, and then it became legal. We started growing, started doing everything. They still thought he was crazy. But now it's like everyone that comes to us is like, how did you guys come up with this? And it's like, it was Earl, it was the leadership, Obviously he had to get other leaders on on board with him. On a tribal council, we have 5 members here, and so 3 of them have to agree. They have to have a quorum to get anything done, right?
Yes.
Rest done. And so he had to convince other tribal councils. And what he told me this himself, is the way he would do that is, a lot of it's ego. A lot of the people, they don't want to do ideas if it's not their idea. And so Earl would say, who cares whose idea it is, basically.
Yeah.
And he would say, what is your legacy going to be? Are you going to be a caretaker of a casino for 4 years? Because we have 4-year terms here. And he would say, are you going to just be a caretaker of a casino for 4 years? Or are you going to build something that will last for generations? Or, that we can have something to be proud of, And so he would get, and that really that tugs at your heartstrings, your ego strings, your everything strings. Like, yeah, we need to be doing more. I don't want to just be a caretaker of this casino. And so I think if more leaders thought like that, because obviously the casino is the crown jewel for most communities, and that's how we get most of the money. But there's so much opportunity for other things that are longer lasting. And I don't I'm not bashing the casino, but it basically instills like addiction and things like that into a community, and so without us even knowing. And it's like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there should be other avenues as well for.
Yes.
So I think, him opening the minds of the other tribal council and other leaders coming on board with him, he was able to push forward, and then, he had all of us and got, farmers, and we got the processing, and we got the building crew, and we all started going. And by then it was like, there was no turning back, even I think a lot of leadership was like, whoa, but there was no, there was, I've heard the phrase like too much toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in or something, I've been, and he's not on leadership anymore, and so it's not just past leadership. It's actually our current leadership that continues. They could pull the plug on this at any moment, and they almost
exactly
quite a few times, especially after Earl wasn't in leadership anymore. These past 2 years, he hasn't been in there. And so, trying to make it through these past 2 years has actually been very difficult to try and convince the rest of the leadership, like, hey, we can, do this, or, there's these opportunities with it. And so it's just that's been a very uphill battle, but
even with how successful you are. And
yeah. And so that's, and I'm not,
oh my word,
I'm not like bashing the leadership at all, because they still continue to it. But it's just like I said at the beginning, they have so much on their plate. And with Earl being in charge of it, now that he's gone, they don't want to have to take that part on. And so I keep telling them, just, throw it on me. I'll take whatever responsibility needs to be taken. And so they've gotten a little bit more lenient. I've had to push, we had the International Hemp Building Symposium, and I had people from all over the world here. And some of them told me, if your leadership doesn't throw everything at you after this, they never will. And the following week, they wanted to quit doing anything with hemp. And I was like, no, we can't. We're so, we're so far ahead. And so,
yes,
I've basically created a nonprofit now as well. So the Green Buffalo Institute is what that is. And so that basically after October, and it's newly formed. We don't actually have any funding or anything yet, but I've gone and done some workshops at other places. I put in some grants. So I have a grant in the works right now that if I get awarded it, I find out next week, but it'll be to do hempcrete workshops on the other 10 reses in Minnesota. So there's 11.
Awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully that goes through, but that's that's the nonprofit that we started to try and still keep this thing moving without having to spend any of the tribe's money. So that's.
Do you guys have a general council? Because we have a general council that is the supreme governing body here on the Wind River. Do you guys have a general council meeting of the people?
That's how ours is, and it's just 5. It's just 5 people. So.
Oh, okay.
But we have such a small land base, like I know there's some reses in Minnesota even that have, different districts and all that. But I mean, I think we're like 4 square miles or something is our entire land area.
Seriously?
No, yeah, I swear. And we need 200 homes, or like 198 homes is like what the last HUD number said. So, and yeah,
Uh-huh.
so
Oh, well, I didn't realize you were so just tiny. But
yeah, and that's what I
tiny
keep
but
saying.
mighty.
If any of these other bigger reservations that could, they could really take this to the next level, and it's just, it falls on the leadership, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of these tribes that could really use this material. And the best part about it, it's not just that we're doing healthier homes, longer lasting homes, all that stuff, and local products, all that. It's that we're giving our community members jobs as well. Like I tell everybody, take the hemp out of it, but we're giving our community members jobs. They're then building homes for our community members that are then living in them. It's like a great story. I don't think you need to even have the hemp and all of that other stuff in it, but so I think any community could basically take back their sovereignty by saying, we're not going to hire outside contractors that are going to come in and just do, crappy work.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hire our own crew. We're going to train them up. We're going to be the ones building, better homes for our community. I think it's very empowering. We go and speak at high schools and colleges, and we have like middle schools and third graders and fourth graders come here for tours. And they always ask us, what's your favorite part about your job? And we always say, even all my guys say, working for our community. And then they say, what's your least favorite part about your job? And all the guys say, working for your community, because it really is, like it is very rewarding, but it's also very because you do feel like you have to do more, so working for your community is just like such a, it's like pay in itself, but it also makes you work a lot harder, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great to see, and I really do believe that it can be duplicated any other community. It doesn't have to be a tribal community, really any struggling community that needs homes and jobs. And man, this could be it,
Absolutely. So what is this a picture of here? Is this a little shed or a little tiny home?
Yeah, that was a demonstration shed. So that was the first building we ever did out of hemp. And we did 3 different wall assemblies and 2 different attic assemblies just to get familiar with the material. And you can see our consultant that we hired from Massachusetts there.
You see the guy in the middle here with the beard?
No. So Earl, all the way to the left, is actually Earl, and then so that he's we call him. I dubbed him the Earl of Hemp, and so a lot of people know him as the Earl of Hemp. And then Jennifer next to him was our consultant. She came all the way from Massachusetts and taught us everything. So.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, we've worked with quite a few consultants other than her as well. We've been fortunate enough to work with like the best in the world.
That's standard practice, right? You can find the best and best practices and make it replicable.
Yeah,
that's a hard word for me to say, but
yeah, and we've been fortunate enough to where we're not really in competition with anyone. We're just trying to build our community. And so, the hemp industry or cannabis industry in a whole is a lot of competition, a lot of people tearing each other down.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of that going on. Whereas we're just trying to rebuild our community, and so we don't, we're lucky enough that like everybody kind of shows us love and is open to working with us because we're not competing with them. We're just trying to push the industry forward or trying to inspire other people to kind of do the same thing.
That's so cool. You're just out there doing your thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we don't ask for like we didn't ask Patagonia to come make a film or like any of that stuff. We literally just trying to rebuild our community.
So I have not watched the film, but can you give me like a little trailer?
Yeah,
what's
you gotta watch it. It's good. I don't watch it because I cry every time.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, I seriously do. And people like
oh my god, Danny!
Yeah, it's only 20 minutes long, or like 19 minutes long, but they all I always get like brought to places to do screenings of this, and then they make me do like a Q&A after, and I'm
Yeah.
most of the time I'm like trying not to cry.
Oh my God. I'm done.
There is like some sad parts in the film, but that's not what makes me cry. It's like at the end of the film, it's like Earl talking about like how or why we're doing this. I don't even remember exactly what he's saying, but it's like scanning to a few seconds of each one of the guys on the crew, and
Oh my God.
it's just like it gives me chills just talking about it right now. But it's just because I know like the battles we had to make to even do the work we've done, or like the projects we've done. So it's just really, feels really good to like have them, like display the guys at the end, and it was just like, so I get really.
Oh my God.
It's good. It's good. It tells a little bit about the Lower Sioux. It actually tells quite a bit about the Lower Sioux. Joel, who wrote the story or who produced, or I don't know what you call him, the director.
Mhm.
So he did a really good job. We never told him, hey, put this in or take that out. He never told us, hey, say this or do this or any of that. They just came, they filmed us like 3 different times and 3 different times of the year, and then went back, made their own story, put it out. And then it ended up winning the Santa Barbara International Film Festival for the best short documentary last year. And so not this year's film festival, but last year's. It was cool. I got to go out there. I got to go out to Santa Barbara and go to the film festival. And we didn't know we were going to win. We didn't even know anything. Joel didn't even know that there was actually like awards for short documentaries, and he's the director. And so it was really cool. But
there you go, just doing your thing, and you're rocking it.
Yeah, and it was funny too because like I didn't know that they were going to have me come and do Q&As there as well. And so I'm in the back of the theater in Santa Barbara with nothing but wealthy, rich people in this audience, and I'm in the back of the audience like bawling, like watching this film because I'm like, look at the guys up on the big screen, right? And then they're like, oh, and could you come up on stage? And so I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, and we went up, and the owner of Patagonia, his wife, was actually in the audience for it, and we didn't know that at the time. And so we got back to our Airbnb, and Joel gets a text from the people at Patagonia and said, oh, I think your name's Linda or something, but she was in the audience and she really enjoyed the show, or is proud to be part of the project. And so it was just like really cool. So here I am, just some kid from the res, out here hanging out. And then I was like, the CEO of Patagonia like took us out to dinner, and bought my dinner, and it was just like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Pretty cool for a res kid.
Yeah, for sure. Like we didn't get paid anything for it, and like we weren't expecting it to get paid.
It's still cool points.
Yeah, and it's cool that they did a spotlight on our story, because I think really it can now inspire others to rebuild their community as well. So yeah, big shout out to Patagonia for that story.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I see a button down here, start your hemp project. So what happens if I click this button? I'm going to do it.
Yeah, click it. I don't know exactly what it does because I haven't been on here for a while, but
let's see.
It's not bringing you to anything.
No, it kind of loops you back. Let's see, make a donation. That's a good one. That's a good button to have for sure.
But yeah, I mean, if you were to want to start a project with us, we've actually started taking some. It's kind of hard though, because in the hemp industry, a lot of people are like, I want to do this. I want to do this. You put all this time and effort. You start working on plans and bids, and then you give it to them, and it's just like kicking the can down the road for years. And so it's been kind of hard to vet the people that are actually ready to build.
Yes.
Not ones that are just dreaming about it. And so it's a lot of that, where it's a lot of wasted time and trying to help people out, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So we do have a few projects lined up this year where they're pretty serious.
Is it okay if I share your email? I did once. So is it okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I probably should have asked first.
Yeah, and we have started doing prefabricated blocks and panels too out of hempcrete. And so the panels that we have 2 homes ready to go right now. One's like 1,000 square foot home, and the other's like a 17 or 1,800 square foot home total. And those would be ready to be installed, anytime. So,
Oh, so what you could do is have your house plan.
mhm.
Like here in Wyoming, we are homesteading, and it's come to a point where we need to put a house on it. So we could come up with a house plan and then work the panels into it and have the builders here assemble it here on the
Absolutely, yeah,
thing.
and that's actually that's the quickest route to do it, really. As far as installing the hempcrete, because it's already cured, ready to go. The panels can be installed basically in a day. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it really speeds it up.
And then do you have to plaster over the panel with something or?
Yeah, well, however you're going to finish it. If you're going to finish it with siding, you would just create a ventilated rain screen and add whatever type of siding or cladding you prefer.
Okay.
And then, yeah, as far as plaster would go, you could plaster it as well. So
On the inside?
yeah, what we do in Minnesota for most of our projects is do a ventilated rain screen on the exterior with whatever type of siding you want to choose, and then on the interior we do a historic lime plaster. So, but you could plaster both sides if you wanted, and we've done that on one of the projects. It's just in cold weather, cold climates, plaster really isn't the best material, but we'll see how long it holds up.
Well, this has been amazing. I love this conversation. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, Danny. Is there anything coming up on the horizon here that you would like to put out to folks? Any kind of workshops or what do you got going on here this summer?
Yeah, so we did just do a free workshop with the University of Minnesota and
Cool.
WSB Engineering. So we're going to try and offer one more of those towards the end of the summer. But I'm actually building my personal home right now, or my family's house, and I plan to do at least 2 workshops. I haven't put out like any dates yet. My foundation's actually getting poured this week, so hopefully I can
Awesome.
get all of the house framed up, and I can still have a couple workshops. So I want to do a hempcrete workshop and then also a plaster workshop towards the end of the fall. So for that.
Well, I'm going to sign off here with you so I can go watch your video, The Green Buffalo.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much.
All right. You take care. Until next time, folks. Stay safe out there.